Good evening. It is now 7 p.m. I will call the Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 Board of Selectmen meeting to order. All three selectmen are present, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from September 6th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes? Nope. Look good to me. Okay, all in favor of approval of those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from September 12th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of the special selectmen meeting minutes from Monday, September 12th, 2022, say aye.
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 And I abstain as I was not at that meeting.
All right. And the last one, I make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from September 16th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay. All right, hearing none. All in favor of approval of the special selectmen meeting minutes from September 16th, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Correspondence. We did receive correspondence from Paul Manchuk. I have turned this over to Public Works. And stormwater management and catch basin clean out and repair has been a priority so far for this year. And we'll be continuing that into next year's season. So this will be something that we'll address when our new Public Works Director begins. And then, of course, the calls from Troop D for the month of August of 2022. Troopers responded to 231 calls for service. Of these calls, the most notable are 16 accidents, 22 investigations, 1 burglary, 1 larceny, and 191 reportable matters. Additionally, there were 2 DUIs, 18 traffic citations, and 8 written warnings. So, nothing out of the ordinary. All right, and with that, we will open up the floor to agenda item 5, selectmen comments. Selectmen comments.
I have a comment to make. I attended the food truck event at Riverside Park, and I thought it was amazing. I hope that we continue to do that each year. I don't know what the turnout was like, but we had a great time.
Oh, yeah, I had a wedding. I
Beautiful
actually
day.
got to go to a wedding that day. So,
That's
and
nice.
attend and be a guest. So I did miss the food truck. I'm glad you were able to go.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go either. I had other commitments. that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, I hope they come back though.
I do too. I thought it was a great idea.
Everybody loves a food truck. Who doesn't love a food truck?
Oh, no, it's great. The only thing that I did hear was a little bit more publicity on it. Because some of the small
Yeah.
signs were really hard to see, even though they
True.
were out there. But, you know, we got into it late this year. Maybe if it's on the schedule next year, we can
We can help promote
do a
it.
little bit better promoting it.
Right.
because, You know, maybe tie something else into it as well.
That's
You
true.
know, whether it's a car show or a concert,
Car
Mhm.
show, that would
Concert,
be- yeah,
something.
Mhm.
but
I
just
think they
something
had,
to
they
bring the
had
people.
bands there.
Yeah.
They had music.
But we
there.
can
Yeah.
continue to build on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Work in conjunction with the organizers of that event.
Sure.
So, yeah. So good news, and it was advertised on Winnie on, yesterday, we did receive word from the Office of Policy Management that Thompson was awarded $496,000 towards, it's a STEEP grant, the Small Town Economic Assistance Program. It will be used for the Thompson Library roof replacement project. So we're excited about that, highly excited. Community Day is coming up October 1st, another opportunity to gather and enjoy some food. There will be food trucks and of course vendor booths and services will be there. We have a new hire. At Friday's meeting, the board, we did decide to offer the position to Joe Tasek, longtime Public Works employee, and he has accepted the position to begin October 31st. So,
we'll add that to the agenda as an official hire.
well, we
we
officially
officially-
offered,
Usually
position.
what we've done in the past is we offer it to a candidate that comes back that,
well,
They
usually it
accepted
comes
it.
to us.
because we didn't name who it was.
We did
And
not,
then
name
we
it,
We did name.
officially,
so we
name.
could add it to the agenda.
Okay.
as a-
We were going to, but because we voted on offering the position to the candidate. Versus if it's a committee that makes the recommendation, we made the decision amongst each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Either way, I mean,
to put belt and suspenders approach, as Erin McGarry always says. We'll do the belt and suspender approach and I'll add it to the October 4th, I think it's October 4th meeting.
Okay,
that we
can
have.
add it under other business. Right?
True? Up to you guys.
doesn't matter. I'm just looking to see.
He doesn't start until October 31st anyway, so.
Yeah, just
You
do it
want-
on the
Well,
October.
I would rather wait and that's way
And then
it's,
printed
it's
on
all
the agenda.
spelled out.
Yeah, me too.
so. And then. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have.
The only other thing that you touched on, the community day, which is a
Mhm.
great thing. And it's great about the library roof because that helps the town with its costs because of doing the roof, which is great. We did receive a email from Mr. Warner asking to get onto the agenda, but the agenda had already been done.
Mhm.
I personally have no problem putting them, under other business on the agenda. If there is an issue with 490, we should deal with it sooner rather than later. If there's some comments, so we can,
Well,
interact
he
with-
has every option to have citizen comments, and at that point, if we deem that we'd like to add it, more information would be nice, and then we can make that decision.
But I don't know that if a citizen has a comment about 490, we wouldn't typically add it to the agenda.
we can add anybody to the agenda. We've had people that wanted to come in to talk on a variety of subjects over the decades. I'd like to be on the agenda. I want to talk about the Little League or anything of that nature. So we always leave things open. If it's a
But typically,
specific
they
subject.
represent like the Little League, or they're on the board or something like that. If a citizen has a complaint, if citizen comments or coming into the first selectman's office is probably more appropriate. That's just
Like
my
I said,
opinion.
I said-
I'm with the majority, whatever.
Let's hear Mr. Warner out and
Yeah,
see,
whatever the
and
citizens'
then-
comments are,
right. All right. With that brings us, any other selectmen comments?
No, I mean, the big thing we got coming up is, the community day for September 1st. And,
October.
October 1st, sorry.
Right. All
I'm
right,
still a month behind.
Yeah, I am too. But that's always a great day, and hopefully the weather, knock on wood, is,
Yeah, and we've. had such good
agrees,
turnout.
and the turnouts are always good, and it's a way for people to come down and see what we got going. So it's something we continue to build on.
Mhm.
And it's also, I think Fire Prevention Week starts April 9th after. I think it's the following weekend.
in
But
October,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got a lot that, that goes on in town, so.
right. All right,
We have had a lot going on in town, different events, and the rec department's doing a great job,
Which
and
is
then
great.
Thompson together, and
Mhm.
we really have had a lot of events and fun things, different things. We have something coming up for laser night for the laser
Oh,
tag,
Halloween
Halloween,
laser
yeah.
light show,
laser light show, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think people want to get out too.
Yeah, I do too,
Now
I
that-
agree.
That we come up with the different programs and different reasons. We have the
Mhm.
town to do it. We've got the park and the gazebo
But there's creativity, I mean,
and that's great.
that's what I like to see.
All right, so with that, we will open up the floor to citizen comments. We will start with this live audience first. So live audience, floor is open for citizen comments, yeah? Yeah, so the audience can hear you, it'll work better. That's you can probably project quite well.
Nadine Williams Edwards, 131 Spicer Road. And so I'm here tonight because I wanted to initiate a conversation regarding armed security at the school. And as we all know, we've seen all of our many, not all, but many surrounding schools that have added security to their overall security program. And I'm just going to read this so I don't get off track there. I recently attended a school security update, and some of us that attended the meeting were there specifically because of the concern and seeing what's going on in our surrounding towns and the condition of the world and where we're at today. And wanted to initiate a conversation and find out where Thompson stands on this and what conversations we might be having already that we didn't know about, or entertain and initiate conversation. Okay, so we were coached in that meeting that we should come to talk to the selectmen. Because it was a requirement to have first a resident state trooper or police department in the town. And that it wasn't a school thing, that it was a town thing. So we coincidentally that same day, Putnam released their news story, Winnie, that that Woodstock had extended their academy to their public school without, we know that they don't have a state trooper or a police department in Woodstock. So I reached out to them, reached out to the Troop D to kind of get an understanding. We talked to the security director to get a better understanding and educate ourselves the difference between having a state trooper and having an SRO and what the different criteria is and all of that. So I guess I watched the finance meeting from Thursday night, and I know that you brought some of that information to that meeting. And that there are pros and cons, obviously, with any decision or any way that we chose to go, if we do go that way. But the bottom line is, I think in the research is that it was that it's really a Board of Ed decision, not a selectmen's decision, unless it's so chicken and egg, right? So that's why we're here. I'm here.
Or can I interrupt just for a second, Nadine? As Dave Johnson said, maybe it's the public's decision. And I thought that was valuable. I thought,
Absolutely.
what do the people want?
Right, so ultimately, I'm here tonight to initiate the conversation, to find out. It was suggested by the security director that I get the selectmen and the Board of Ed together and, have a conversation about that and where we go from here. And, obviously there's a budgetary requirement here, and I just wanted to point out that there is more than one option. And the appetite from the town needs to be, we need to sample that, I think. I don't know, but I think that we need to. I was thinking that we get together and have a conversation, unless these conversations are going on already behind the scenes. We don't have any preview to that. So basically that's the ask.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to just address, I have been doing some research. I just made a little note because one of the things I wanted to reach out to the troop headquarters just to get a feel for what the program is. A couple of years ago, prior to COVID, I had reached out about the resident trooper program. And they were exploring new options and new ways of charging the various towns. So it is a priority. Additionally, I reached out to insurance because one of the things I had heard was that potentially our municipal insurance wouldn't cover this program. I have since heard back from HD Seeger, that's who helps us assist us, the agent that helps us assist us with getting insurance, and currently with Travelers, and they actually would cover us. So I have that answer to that. And then I think it's just a matter of us determining, not that there's a price to safety, but making an informed decision and finding out how much is it gonna cost us? How many security officers would we need, armed security officers? Who would they report to? And those kind of details, if we can hash that out, I think it's something absolutely for a serious discussion and putting it out there to the public. And like you said, to see if there's, an appetite for it. I think there is.
I don't know how the other towns did it.
Mhm.
I had an initial conversation with the headmaster, I guess, in Woodstock Academy, so he would be happy to help us navigate. if
Okay.
We needed to
Right.
get where we needed to be, but ultimately the decision is with the Board of Ed, as I understand it. So,
I would assume.
I would assume so, but we would have to have a resident trooper, wouldn't we?
It's not a necessary. There's nothing statutory about that.
I talked to the lieutenant at Troop D. I went 3 levels up to try to get this answered before I came here, because I wanted to kind of know a little bit more about what I was talking about.
The only other thing that seemed like a glitch was the potential of the actual SROs not having access to the dispatch.
That's what
The
I heard.
immediate,
Yeah.
like you see police officers, they have connection, they're connected to dispatch. They would have a cell phone and they'd have to call 911 like everybody else. And that's a practical issue for their safety as well. We have to consider that type of, if we don't have a resident trooper, if we have a resident trooper, they would have potentially access to.
Do we
not
know if there's
potentially.
any state funding out there for resident troopers for the small towns like ourselves?
There was a program back in 2019. It was a reduced cost that they were offering. I just have to follow up
But
with
the
them. But now
police-
that
the
there's
state
been,
police were offering,
yeah, but now
but
that
not
there's
the
been a
state of
mass,
Connecticut.
no. But now that there's been a mass, well, it's through the state of Connecticut.
Yes, but I mean, some sort of a,
But now that there's been this mass exodus,
May I?
yeah,
So if I understood correctly, the straight trooper program, the resident trooper program is different than the SRO program.
oh, right,
But, okay,
absolutely.
So apparently that SRO program has just been reinstated. I think COVID might have had, and they were back level. I mean, they were down officers from what
Right.
I understood. But knowing the town's appetite for budget and where we're at, right? I think there's opportunities to get creative
Mhm.
here, right? So, do we pay for, do we even enter, I don't know if I even want to go this far, but do we entertain having a SRO during school hours only, the
Mhm.
minimum that we could ask the town for? Or do we go the longer view? I don't know the answer to that, but I just think that we need to get creative. Putnam, I commend them. Yes, I understand that they're different than us, but they have a police force, right?
Mhm.
But they took care of it before school started, and I was really impressed with that. They
Mhm.
wanted to make sure it was in place because Texas had just happened and so
Right.
forth, and they took it upon themselves, and I was pretty impressed with that.
Mhm.
And I know that, if I understood correctly, the Board of Ed and the Selectmen and Woodstock Academy got together and had that conversation. They didn't even wait for the community. They just did it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
we're in a different place, but that doesn't mean that we're not smart enough to be creative enough to get it to happen either.
Right. Well, I look forward to talking to you more
Thank you.
about it.
good conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes, there's a lot of moving parts.
yeah, absolutely.
There's the liabilities, et cetera.
And
Mhm.
I've had residents reach out and ask about a resident trooper.
Mhm.
And
Right,
it all
oh,
kinda
right,
ties in together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right, selectmen comments. The floor is still open for selectmen comments
Citizens.
or citizen comments. We're done with selectmen comments.
Bill Warner, Paul Davis Road. I'm here to inform the Thompson Board of Selectmen of major problems on how PA 490 open space program is being implemented by the assessor's office. That has been brought to my attention by landlords. And the reason why I wanted to be on the agenda is so the assessor could be here as well to discuss PA 490. At the town meeting in July, the citizens of Thompson voted to reestablish the open space provision of PA 490 as it had been run for the past 4 decades. The way it was run, property owners would apply for open space by filling out a form at the assessor's office. The assessor would then go and physically inspect the property and classify it accordingly to the 8 different state OPM land classifications. They would then place a 10-year lien, and if nothing changed, that's how the property was assessed until it was sold. It was understood that the properties that were in PA 490 program before the town meeting were meant to be transferred into the new PA 490 program as they were. The only reason why we had to redo the program was because of administrative oversight on the town's part, not the property owners. And that is not what is happening. The assessor just started the process by sending out notices with forms that need to be filled out and returned by Halloween. And a few problems have cropped up. First, some property owners are not receiving forms from the assessor for each property they have in open space. We need to be diligent to make sure all property owners receive a form for each of their properties. Second, the assessor is using the town's GIS system to determine the classifications of properties in open space. Using the GIS system, he has changed the pasture to tillable land D, changed the wooded lot to tillable D, and moved the house from one lot to another. There are other properties where the assessor is making changes, and there's no legal basis for this. On Thompson's website, there is a disclaimer on our GIS system which states the town and FTO respectively do not make any warranty, representation, or guarantee as to content, sequence, accuracy, timeliness, or completeness of any of the information provided herein. The user should not rely on the data provided herein without verifying its accuracy independently. Yet we have a town employee, the assessor, using the database to change classifications and property boundaries of residents' properties, which he omits in his cover letter. This is just not right, and this is not what the voters voted for last July. The assessor should not be changing land classifications and or property lines using the GIS system. If he believes there's a reason to change the classification, he needs to go out and inspect the property personally. The GIS data should only be used for reference. It should never be used for legal reasons. DEEP, who manages the GIS system in Connecticut, states, although individual entities across Connecticut have made excellent use of GIS, there are big data problems. The pasture I mentioned has been used from livestock since before it was put into open space. The owners stopped keeping livestock a few years ago because of the age. The pasture hasn't changed, it's still there, it's just there's no livestock in it now. The wooded lot I mentioned is still wooded. The owners called the assessor and had them come review the property, and it's still wooded. The relocation of the house is just the assessor's opinion based on the GIS system. The property owner shouldn't have to get a surveyor to prove to the town that the house remains on its original site. The assessor should personally verify the location of the house. It should be clearly stated on the cover letter to the landowners that the assessor has made changes to their original application. Some property owners are not going to realize that the assessor has changed their property classification because the cover letter does not state he changed it from the original classification. Many property owners will only find out next July when they get next year's tax bill and will not have an opportunity to appeal or correct. In addition, we have also heard complaints that the assessor has modified the state of Connecticut form, which is a form -M30. This form is put out by the Agriculture Department. And we talked to Joan Nichols about it, and she says he has no authority to change that form. It's a legal authority, and if he's changed it, it violates the form. And I can show you, this is the form he sent me. This is the one from Connecticut. It's not the same form. He's also changed one of the categories from the state OPM for the land categories. He's changed swamp ledge and scrub to wasteland. So some people are getting things and seeing the land is now classified as wasteland in this hand. I don't know what that is. And it doesn't say on any of this paperwork that that's swamp, ledge, or scrub. The forms going out to the property owner should have the current information of how the land has been classified since it was originally placed into PA 490. And inform the owners that they just need to sign and return it to continue in the PA 490 open space program. Nothing more, nothing less. This needs to be fixed. Half the people I've talked to have issues that need resolved and time is running out. The assessor needs to follow state guidelines and not alter current classifications unless he notifies the landowner and personally inspects the property. The town is placing hardships on the citizens of Thompson through no fault of their own. And I would expect this board to act to ensure all citizens are properly notified and that their properties are transferred into the new program as they were. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, citizen comments. Anybody else in the public, I mean, in the live audience? Okay, so we will move to virtual. Valerie Clark.
Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. The first comment I have is that you approved the minutes from the last regular selectmen's meeting, but there was an error in them. You have a citizen who made comments, once at the beginning and once at the end, and apparently that citizen moved her residence from the time that she spoke in the beginning of the meeting till the time she spoke at the end. So you gotta pick one place she lives and keep it consistent. And then the other piece, Mr. Warner actually very eloquently said many of the things I wanted to say. My issue is more overall personal regarding my issues with the PA 490 administration. The letter says specifically that the assessor is using the GIS system, which all of the printouts from the GIS system say across the front of the page, they say not to be used for legal purposes. We've gone over this many times in our town meetings, one during the redistricting. You'll remember that one of the reasons why the redistricting didn't go through was because a map was being used that said on it, not for legal purposes. The same applies with the GIS system for administering PA 490. It's not to be used for legal purposes. It's only a guideline, a reference, a starting point. It is not definitive nor accurate and does not claim to be. The other item regarding PA 490 is we were told repeatedly that there were going to be advertisements letting the public know in newspapers that this program was available and that they'd be notified by the assessor if they were already in the program. All of that was supposed to be advertised, and there's no way for the public to know that this program is available. So if any new applicant wished to participate, they wouldn't be aware that that program existed. The mailing went out late. We've been assured that there were plenty of resources to get the mailing out on time and that the assessor was on track. That was what I was told at the last regular meeting. And in fact, the mailing went out after September 1st. And then personally, I have only had a chance to go through one of the properties that I received a letter about, but my tax assessment went up over 800% because somehow property that is ledge and swamp, which hasn't changed, I know that for a fact, is now being classified as woodland because the GIS system was being used illegally. And then the very last item, which regards the assessor's office, is that there is a note now on the assessor's page stating that vision appraisal will no longer be used and that a similar software will be available that will have similar information. Vision appraisal has worked well for the town. The contract and the pricing should be evaluated and negotiated, but we shouldn't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Vision appraisal has tracked our data accurately and well, and it stored the historical assessments and field card values. And we're going to lose that apparently on November 1st. And I would encourage the town to not take that action and to retain the vision appraisal software. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizen comments. Okay. Hearing and seeing none. We will move on.
Just before we move, we'll bring it to Paul's attention,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well,
these concerns.
oh, I will. I will. The fact is, GIS cannot be used to form a deed, cannot be used to claim ownership. But this is an assessment of property. If there are PA 490 participants that are unhappy or about the way something has been assessed, their first step will be to go to Paul, go to the assessor directly and express their concern. He will walk the property. He has one scheduled for Friday. If after that happens, they're still not happy with the process, we know that we have an elected Board of Assessment Appeals, which is the next step. The third step, if they're still not satisfied, if Board of Assessment Appeals doesn't rule in their favor, the next step is they can take us to court. And those are the processes. This was put into place at a town meeting. There were two options. There was one option presented. The option that was presented was objective. It had one flat rate that would have made it equal across the board. So there would be no subjectivity. But what it was changed to at that meeting was a subjective plan that put Paul in the seat to have to make a decision as far as how the land was classified. And without jumping in or touring every single property, because we were under a time limit, yes, it has been confirmed that you can use GIS to do what Paul is doing. It is not illegal. It is illegal to say, I claim ownership because GIS is marked out this way, or I'm going to draw up a deed based on GIS. But people evaluate property all the time using GIS, and that is exactly what Paul is doing. If there is a concern, take it to him. He will walk your property. And then
You got to talk.
It doesn't- Mr. Warner, it doesn't, just because something was done improperly and almost illegally in the past, doesn't mean that we continue doing things wrong. So citizen comments are over and we will move on. We have another set of citizen comments later. We have agenda item 7, report, Director of Planning and Development. Kira, are you available? Are you there?
Yep, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just at the gym, so I may get distracted. Hi.
Okay. Hey,
So we're in under the report. Let me go to look at my document so I can see where we are. We are where I am, and we'll just obviously the three of you have seen it, so we'll just go through very quickly. And if you guys have any questions on any of the items, just stop me. As with the last couple of memos I've sent over, the format is an update on grants pending in one form or another, and then my work with the various committees, and then stuff that doesn't fit neatly into either of those categories. So in terms of grants, the Congressional Appropriations Award, we have received the $240,000 for the renovation of 65 Main Street. And that is in our accounts. In order to actually use those funds, though, we need to go through an architectural and design process because that was not built into that funding request. So the Turtle Lot Trust had a special meeting a couple of months ago. They unanimously approved up to $20,000 to fund that. But we have to have a secondary meeting, which is scheduled for next week, for the three ratifying boards, this board, Board of Ed and Board of Finance, to also sort of approve that. We do have an RFP out for that design contract, and Brian Santos and I had a pre-bid meeting or a pre-bid walkthrough today. One potential bidder did show up for that. I actually think he's also bid on the salt shed, as it turns out. That was an excellent conversation. We'll be issuing an addendum probably by the end of the month to address some of his questions. And then the bids close on that for the 4th of October Selectmen's meeting. Let's see. DECD Communities Challenge Grant, and this is also sort of the next agenda item as well. But the purchaser and developer of the 150 acres around North Groverdale Pond and I are working on an application to submit there. The developer, would be fronting the entire match, and it's a 1-to-1 match. So he will be fronting 3.15 million roughly to get a like amount back from the state to help facilitate the first phase of his build out. And that's out of a total $65 million project. We can talk about that more specifically under the next agenda item, because there is a resolution that this board would need to pass in order for us to be able to apply. Connecticut CT Deep Recreational Trails Grant. We did finally get the paperwork last week or the week before, which I have signed and have sent back to the state for their counter signature. Once that is signed by the Attorney General's office, that $16,000 will be accessible to us, and we can start the site work and design on the Trainwreck Park project, which again is sort of an unlock step so that we can get the plans created, and then the 155-ish thousand that we set aside out of the ARPA funds, we can start flowing towards that. The DECD Brownfield Remediation Grant is still pending the completion of the paperwork. It's been a long, slow slog, but the current owner of the property has signed the negative pledge agreement, which is a condition of that grant. So hopefully that'll now move us to where those funds will be released and we can get that work underway. The lot SIP grant, surely everybody has seen that the sidewalks are being built with the lot SIP grant. We're probably just about halfway through the project. Still some complications with meeting the Department of Transportation's mill and pave schedule. But Amy and I and our construction inspector and the contractor had a meeting today, and we're going to try to meet with DOT next week. The middle mile broadband grant, we've dropped that. We were not able to develop a competent application ahead of the deadline, which is the end of this month. So that's a dead letter. The STEEP grant, Amy already gave you the update, which we had just yesterday. Confirmation of the award of the $496,000 to replace the library roof. So that was a nice little way to start a week. A grant that we will probably be applying for is the T-Mobile Hometown Grant Program. This is a program with a rolling quarterly deadline. It does not appear to have a match requirement, and awards are up to 50 grand for shovel-ready, essentially placemaking projects. So at the MISRAC meeting last week, we discussed the idea of coming up with a project to make improvements in Riverside Park. And at the next month's MISRAC meeting, we'll try to refine that a little more. The TLGV Youth Engagement Grant helped to fund Litter League. Litter League is up and running. We'll have our first trash drop off or trash count this weekend with the program volunteers. And then there will be little awards monthly for the next 3 months for the participating teams. And then the last pending grant, by the end of the month, I should have notification from the USDA Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production Grant that was submitted on behalf of the programming aspect for the 65 Main project. We had a very strong application, including letters of recommendation from all 3 of our federal legislators. So hopefully that will build on the federal award we had for the Reno. So that's all the grants currently sort of in play. Municipal commissions, the Agriculture Commission, as you are aware, has by now long completed their work on the PA 490 issue, and just recently concluded their recommendations to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the annual update of the zoning regulations. They did really good work, very thoughtful work. And Vern Butler, who was the new chair at the last meeting, did say that he'd like to move that commission in a direction where they're working more on advocacy for startup farmers and also for agritourism. I think that is a brilliant direction for that commission to move, given everything we know about priorities within the town, and sort of I'll help them do whatever they need my help with. EDC has a meeting tomorrow night. They'll be dealing with Business of the Year for Community Day. In terms of their projects, the 11th Village is moving forward. We ordered just about 1,000 titles of Hertz and Remaindered books for a student-run bookstore to be operated by the transitional students out of one of the sheds, and that should be open for Community Day. And then we're going to keep working with the school and TBA to sort of develop a mentorship program for business track students and for transitional students, and just try to get that activated while we try to complete the installation. MISRAC, I mentioned that we're going to be looking at potential grant projects for Riverside Park, and we'll also in MISRAC keep sort of working towards getting the Blaine Road intersection build out underway. That's been a little complicated by, again, the sidewalk and DOT schedule, and some input from our DPW garage in terms of wanting a slightly different configuration of that intersection, but we'll keep working on it until it's ready to go. The other thing that MISRAC will be doing is we had submitted 2 potential projects to UConn's senior engineering students this year. One of them was for taking on a part of a concept design for redevelopment of 630 Riverside Drive, and that was an accepted project. I did have an initial contact with the student team, but I still need to work to set up a meeting with them. It was just an introductory email. So we'll be working on concept designs, either to give to a particular developer, if that plays out the way we're hoping it will, or at the least to have it to shop around through an RFP process later down the line. Planning and Zoning Commission has their annual update to the zoning regulations coming up. This coming Monday, they will be voting to move to public hearing the suggested amendments. Those amendments are published on the town's website. I am accepting public comment to be read into the public hearing. And the document and the instructions on how to email me are on the planning and zoning page on the town's website. Once that's concluded, they'll go back to working on the subdivision regulations. And we hope to have both. Well, we will have the zoning regulations update wrapped up by early October. And we are really hoping to get the subdivision regulations wrapped before the end of the year so that the documents are fully in alignment. And then Recreation Department, I did put through a rec sheet for a 50% deposit on the paving for the pickleball court. And we've identified the full funding stream for the estimated expenses on that project. So within a week or 2, we should see some paving starting to happen there. And then the only other 2 pieces from the memo from sort of outside or not town organizations. As you know, I'm the town's representative on the Eastern Region Tourism District. I did work the Big E this past Saturday. I was there at the tourism desk in the Connecticut building for a 7-hour shift. And by doing so, I get to do things like put the Z maps in people's hands and encourage them to visit Northeast Connecticut, not just Mystic, not just New London, but to really draw attention. So it was a long day, but a useful day. And then the last piece addressed in the memo is the second project that we submitted to the UConn School of Engineering was for concept designs for improvements to the transfer station. That project was also accepted. I have not yet heard from that student team. I expect to hear from them this week. And then I'll have to schedule some meetings with the transfer station advisory committee and the staff up at the transfer station to see how we want that project to move forward. So I know I went through fast, but you guys have already read it. So happy to take any questions you may have.
You haven't heard anything on anything for the fire departments at all that may be in the pipeline?
I'm sorry, Ken, I couldn't quite hear you. Let me turn my volume up here.
The fire departments, because those sometimes come out pretty quickly. I don't know if you've heard anything in the pipeline. Usually they're pretty time restrained to get them done, ASAP, and we know that with our volunteers, that sometimes time is spread pretty thin with them, but whatever we can do on that front does help.
Yeah, I did reach out a couple of months ago to the departments to try to work on a mutual grant application. Nobody ever got back to me except Matt Grauer. He and I did start an application, but we hit an impassable hurdle in that they did not have plans drawn up for what was being proposed, and there was no way around that in that grant application, which is too bad because it was probably an excellent candidate for funding otherwise. The annual grants that open up for the departments, the chiefs definitely are aware of those. If they would like my assistance with that, I'm always willing to help them. But I have not typically had great responsiveness from the departments when I've generally offered my help or asked if they had specific things they wanted to go out for. But I'm always there for them, just like any other group in town. If assistance is needed in writing a grant, it's in my skill set, and I'm happy to offer that.
I will say that Chief Grauer had reached out to me and he had applied for a USDA grant, and he did receive that. I believe, and he can correct me, I see he's on the meeting. I think it was 50,000 for
great
top packs, yeah, which was fantastic. He had reached out additionally to follow up on it with our contact there, which I don't know why her name's escaping me.
Trisha Anderson, probably.
Yes, thank you. So very excited, very kudos to him for putting that together and getting the money for the department. So
yeah, excellent.
Kira, that question I think I ask you every time you present is, do we have a plan on who's going to maintain 65 Main when it's completed?
So, and I think my answer is pretty close to the same every time as well. That will come out as we work on the programming. I use the term programming very broadly. The processes are going to be funded separately, the reno and the operations. Let's change the word to operations. So, the one that we had the funding approved for first was the reno. So we're just moving forward with that because, it's a chicken and egg thing. You can't do one without the other. Whether or not this latest grant application to the USDA is successful, as that reno moves forward, we're going to have to work on that programming and operational plan. But, up until we've had some sense that the thing is moving forward, any concrete planning about, maintenance and operations, who's using it, when is it being used, is premature. But it's, it's all a part of the mix. So it's the short answer to your question is no, but yes.
The second question, I have a couple of questions. One is the USDA grant that you're applying for. Does that meet the intention of the Turtle Lot Trust?
Well, the Turtle Lot trustees have certainly seen the proposal that we've had all along. It's been discussed in some detail with several different options. I would say that where we left it last and what helped move the needle on the trustees was the suggestion, and it was never not part of it, but I think it was made more clear in that last meeting, that absolutely there can and should be some way in which it directly benefits the school itself. Whether that be a home base for the transitional students program because they have a requirement to be off campus, or a place where the Future Business Leaders of America Club can have meetings or assist, or whether it's a place that our non-college track graduates can gain some additional business skills in a future incubator curriculum. All of those things are on the table. So, you know, in terms of the word of the deed, the word of the will is that it's supposed to be rented out as a residence, but nobody wanted to do that. So in
Well, it was
absence of that being
supposed
the
to house
purpose.
the superintendent, with the proceeds going to the Washington class trip for the high school students.
Correct. And
So not just
my
rent it
very,
out.
right. Well, right. So my very original programming was to try to get, or suggested concept was to try to get it pretty close to that, and to have the second and third floor rehabbed as an apartment, rented out to an in-house property manager effectively, and you know, any proceeds for rent over the cost of the maintenance of the building to be remitted to the trip. That was the original concept I sold. The trustees did not like that idea. So we're going to have to, you know, sit down all together as we go forward. The stakeholders say, okay, you know, as the building is being rehabbed, let's talk about how it's going to be put into use. You know, and what we did sell to the Fed was that it was going to have a small business support function, but that's also very broadly interpreted at this point, and we will narrow that down to make sure it serves all the people who need to be served to the best of its ability.
And Tara, this is from our trustee meeting, the last trustee meeting, it was determined that one of the reasons they were in with the 20,000 was that in some aspect, this programming would benefit the school.
Yep.
And that was the stipulation. But then additionally, we have the meeting on September 28th that's supposed to get all three boards together on the same page.
Yep.
Or at
And,
least try to find the same page.
yeah, right.
So-
And Brian and I will obviously both be in that meeting, and we can, you know, go over in as much detail as is needed for the gathering of the three boards. You know, what has been proposed, you know, what is sort of as close to set in stone as it can be in this point, which is, as you suggest, that it must benefit the school in some way. What is fluid, you know, and what to the best ability that we can ahead of knowing whether we have this grant from USDA yet or not. You know, what the process will be to determine the final formatting.
Right. Just one more question. Were you part of that's a grant that's not on your list? Were you part of the writing of the grant for the school roof?
Was I? No, I was not.
You know who did write that grant?
I do not. I presume it was either Bill Birch or somebody on the building committee, but I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, just a question. And I like the way that you give your presentation. I like the information that you have in here. It's very detailed, and I like the way you set it up too. And thank you.
Sure, no problem. I mean, I do try to be organized.
It's very organized.
And don't go away because you know that the next, oh, any other questions for Tiara? Okay, The next item is that D, which was item number 2, I think. On the list of grants, this Connecticut DECD Community Challenges Grant, second round is coming. And Tara, just to clarify, it says, it's due, it needs to be submitted by October 7th.
Yeah, I initially thought it was the 1st, but it's actually the 7th.
So the board technically would have time to maybe sit on this, and even though we could think about this, but in the meantime, let's share with the selectmen what this developer has proposed. And my question, just to clarify, because I know we've talked about this, it requires like a private partnership for this community challenges grant, correct?
They don't require them, strictly speaking, but they are strongly preferring public-private partnerships.
Okay,
One of the reasons I think that we didn't get as much traction with the one that I submitted last time is that, yes, we had a public-private partnership, but it was with Teague, and Teague wasn't actually committing any funds. We were just sort of bringing them in as an administrative partner on one of the proposed elements.
right.
And that, I had talked to DECD afterwards for some feedback, and they said, it was around the middle of the pack, and they didn't see the direct through line to the economic development side. I think this proposal will certainly give a clearer, it'll check their boxes better, I
Right.
think. And it's still highly competitive. So, anything could happen, but
Do you want to present, let me see, do you want to share your screen for that? Or how do you want to start with presenting this to the board, Tara?
however you like, I can share my screen. I've got it open here. So just let me know when it's good to go.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okie dokie. All right, so let me zoom out first, just to give people a sense of what we're talking about here. So this that you see on your screen is a concept rendering of the 152 acres adjacent to North Grosvenor-Dale Pond. It was purchased by Mike Licamelli of MSL Group. And this is where he is right now. What he is proposing is essentially a workcation resort development. All of the stuff that you see up in the upper left of the screen, which is the northern portion, the northern third roughly, would be essentially short-term rentals. But short-term rentals, like not necessarily just for weekend, possibly, for an entire season. But his hook is that he is, trying to capitalize on the fact that professional lives have been untethered from offices. So the idea of the workcation for the professional, somebody who can, travel and still fully participate in their office life, really selling it to that market. As a part of that, and I'll start sort of enlarging it here so we can see pieces. He's got some workforce housing proposed here. I think he said this was going to be 50 to 60 units of employee apartments. And then if we move over here, and this is where it's relevant to the application, the southern portion here, close to where the parking lot for drafters is and the existing, this stuff would all be forward facing. In other words, accessible to the public, not just serving the resort development. So he's got a putting green here. He's proposing building some retail space, some hospitality space, a little cafe snack shack, adding some paddlers launches, not necessarily motorized launches. Again, a little dining area here. So in synopsis, he's looking at about $65 million worth of development here, but he thinks that this little portion is going to run him about $3 to $6 million. So he's proposing putting up $3 million, asking the state for $3 million, but also the the 157,000 additional as a commitment to doing something for the town. Since we're partnering, we've had those shovel ready plans for a townwide wayfinding system since 2010. So I said, well, look, if you build in that to your ask, then that's something that the town doesn't have to front the funds for, benefits the development, also benefits the town, and shows the partnership. So that's the origin of the 3.157 million of the request. When we're working on that draft right now, in fact, I started writing the narrative yesterday, and I'll be working on it in earnest with him, passing it back and forth next week. Now, a technicality of the DECD grants is they require that the municipality, meaning the Board of Selectmen, pass a resolution essentially confirming that they are seeking the grants, that the board is aware, and that they approve the seeking of the funds. So, since there is no financial risk here to the town is not being asked to invest anything. It's really sort of a no harm, no foul. Even if we don't get the grant, we haven't put anything up. The only thing we've put up essentially is the fact that I, as the municipal representative, would have to be the grant manager. But that's exactly what we're doing with the, with most of our grants, really. But, with the DECD brownfield grant, it's the same thing. Public-private partnership. The private developer put up all the funds, and my role in that is really to just manage where the funds go, who gets paid out and when. So that is the down and dirty synopsis. And again, happy to answer any questions here. In as far as I know them, obviously this is not my concept plan, it's his, but he and I have talked about it enough that I can probably wing it pretty well as to what he's got planned.
In addition to the repair on that dam.
The repair on the dam he's doing independently. He's not
Right.
talking about that as a part of this.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yes.
not to, but just saying that he is also initiating that repair, which is huge.
Oh, yes, yes. And we've already had a couple of con calls with CT Deep on it.
Yeah.
He has hired GZA to work
Yep.
on it for him. So he is already investing in the repair of that dam.
Right. So. Thoughts?
Quite the undertaking.
It is.
Yeah, a little bit overwhelming.
I'm gonna stop share so I can see
Yeah.
you guys again. Okay, there you are.
But I mean, my feeling is that this is revitalization in a nutshell. I mean, it's just amazing. It's not going to happen overnight.
No. No, this is a big project.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is bringing quite a bit of recreational opportunities to the mill pond, which is one of the questions that we had when we were presented with either going back to just the riverbed
Mm-hmm.
or
Right,
keeping the level at the top,
right.
where it is currently, which also keeps a 50-foot easement in there.
Mhm.
So
And there's still be plenty of open space for recreational use
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
public. It's not, this doesn't become this private resort that the public can't venture on.
Correct. There is a whole system of trails that's already there. None of those trails will go away. There will be a portion that will be more private up near where he's proposed the actual resort rentals. But all that stuff down near the Drafters End is going to be just as public when he's done as it is today. Really, probably more so because there'll be better access. And then in terms of the preservation of actual green space, I didn't do a rough measurement on it, but to my eye, it looks like he's probably got about 45% in, woodlot and lily pond and an actual green space as well. And the portion that is that green space is the portion that backs up into people's backyards now, for the most part. So it's really, I have to give him credit. We've had a couple of meetings to go over his concepts, and he has been very responsive to what Cindy and I have identified as, potential sticking points, things that might make people less happy about it, including, the idea of a resort in somebody's backyard where all they can see is trees now. He's been very thoughtful.
Well, even with a resort, the resort people are gonna want to keep a buffer between them and the existing residents along Route 12 to keep that, that buffer there so that they have whatever they're renting and so forth is desirable.
Oh, yeah, there's the 100-foot buffer
Yeah. Yeah, you can see, well, this is a 100-foot buffer.
for them, but
This is-
down,
Yeah,
down low, I'm looking at.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I would call this a very, very thoughtful development plan. And there's probably going to be some things that change in it before it reaches its final form. But in terms of the grant, again, what we're looking at is this discrete portion, which is the stuff that has immediate public benefit for the community, not just for the private resort style development up here.
And Tara, that gets written into the grant. And then when there's the contract with DECD for the grant, that's all spelled out.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's not
that's
like
part
he's
of what
gonna
the
get
back,
$3 million and not do what he said he was going to do.
right, and just by means of compare and contrast, that is part of the reason why the $2 million Brownfield grant is taking so long. It's what are the actual details, and we've batted that language back and forth for months. Now we've got the language for the grant partners resolved by now. Now it's just those other pieces. But yeah, when you're talking amounts in the millions, the state is very careful to make sure that they are getting what they're paying for.
Right.
I like the idea of that recreation down there. We got talked about enhancing that section over there. It'll also hopefully keep some of the undesirables that frequent the Heritage Park, by having something going on there where their
Staff and
staff and people overseeing
all
it.
the time, right? No, I agree.
I mean, that's just that one particular area that doesn't even take in the other 90% of that lot.
Right.
So I can see the advantages of it,
Mhm.
with the mill redevelopment and everything that we're doing, the trails and the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And walkability, it gives our residents
More.
another outlook, more to
And
enjoy Thompson.
right. And that was part of the thing, one of the things the community challenges grant was looking for was how does it enhance the life of the residents that are currently already living here?
Yeah.
So it's not only development, but it's also enhancement of our life and making life a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, I mean, we're agreeing the partnership with that 10% space. It isn't the rest of the project that is going to be developed
Over time.
and go over time and through the proper zoning and everything else that goes along with the development of that site.
Right.
So do you want to approve the resolution now?
I'm gonna lean, I'm for moving forward with the resolution, but I feel like if either of you want to think about this more or do a little more research, because we do have until October 7th. So I'm fine either
That
way.
isn't cutting you close if we put it off to the first October meeting.
She could still
It's-
draft it.
Yeah, it's not gonna stop me writing the narrative.
Okay.
I don't know that you gain anything by putting it off. It's just
No.
one less thing I'll have to be doing that week.
I
chasing
just
down a
want you both to
resolution.
be comfortable. Because I've been able to absorb this over the weeks.
Well, I've been looking at
Okay.
it over the past few days.
Okay.
and
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
got it,
quite
we got
the-
it and
It's
looked
quite
at
the
it.
undertaking and.
I have a better understanding of
and that
what the expectation is now.
Right.
And with the 3 million just being on that small.
Would you get a
piece,
nice color copy?
Probably printed it
No, I didn't. print
No?
it.
No.
It was in my
It was in your
packet. Maybe it's
packet.
supposed to be yours.
No, I
You
didn't.
didn't get a colored one?
No, I had printed my own.
You got the colored one. I got a
No,
copy.
black and white.
I don't even know where it
It's small print.
I had blown it up on the computer.
Well, that's why I had asked Tara to share it tonight,
Yeah, yeah.
because it was a much better depiction on the screen than it
Yeah.
was in my copy. So,
This is a competitive grant, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we applied in the first, there's only going to be 2 rounds. This is the second
Mm.
and final round because this is the state's way of using their ARPA allotment. You know, and we, you know, to that end, or to demonstrate that, we did not get the first grant that I applied for under this. You know, we were firmly in the middle of the pack. This one, I think, is going to be more competitive than the one that I drafted for us. I think it is a much more straight line between what we're proposing and DECD's types of priorities. But we could still not get it. I mean, that's just a fact of competitive grants. But even if we don't, there's no loss to us, and there's really no loss to the development in that he's going to develop this thing one way or the other. This would just enable us to get some of that offset by the state and move that piece forward a little faster. Although I will say the one thing we would get that we wouldn't get without the grant is the wayfinding system, because that's something I made a point of including, because we're ready to go with that, but we have no other means of funding that at this time. And he was totally amenable to that.
I mean, if we want to approve it tonight, it's on the agenda as a resolution partner.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept and certify the resolution as presented.
And I'll second it.
okay, motion in a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of accepting the motion as presented. Or adopting the grant resolution partnership, say aye. Aye, and that is unanimous.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Tara.
guys.
All right,
Good
have a
night.
great night. Thanks for coming in.
Anytime.
Never envisioned project of that size and that acreage.
Could be really, it'll be really beautiful.
Mhm.
So Thompson deserves it. Agenda item 9, community fire request for a boot drive fundraiser at the transfer station. The Community Fire Company of North Grovenondale will be holding our semi-annual boot drive on September 24th. So that's this Saturday. We would like permission to hold the boot drive at the intersection of Riverside Drive and Main Street near the town hall, as well as at the town transfer station.
I'll make a motion that we accept. What? To approve the semi-annual boot drive for Community Fire Company of North Grovenondale on September 24th.
I'll second.
Okay, motion in a second. Any discussion on this? Always love those boot drives.
Mhm.
All in favor of approving the request for the boot drive this coming Saturday, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Not conflicting with anything else at the transfer station, I'm assuming.
No, no.
Let's ask that first.
Do you agree?
I
Did you say aye? All right, it's unanimous.
am tired.
Other business. Any other business to bring before the board?
No.
Citizen comments. We are back to citizen comments. Agenda item 11.
Jane has her
She does?
hand.
Oh, she doesn't. Nope,
Nope.
That was
that's
me.
your,
that was my cursor. Sorry. Ah, Valerie Clark.
she's frozen.
Hi again.
Hello.
So the resolution that you just adopted, it really felt to me like that was something that needed time and that should have been presented to the citizens for their input before you adopted it. But too late now. So this is the first time we've been aware of the details of this proposed development we've heard has been in the works for a long time. And with that, I will move on to the other comment. And I've said this before. You all know that I've been intensely involved in the ongoing meetings in the town. And my observation over this more than a year that I have been attending as many of the meetings as I possibly can is that there's a running theme of disrespect for the citizens of the town. People have talked to you about it before. I've brought it up. Many people have brought it up. I need to remind you that we, the citizens of the town, entrust the employees and the elected officials of the town to administer to our expectations. And what I'm seeing is a pattern where we, the citizens, are being failed and in fact, actually being thwarted at every step. And what I heard tonight that I was very disappointed about is that because the selectmen is not happy about a vote that was taken at a town meeting and approved by the citizens, that a program is being deliberately administrated in a difficult manner in order to prove a point. And I don't appreciate being worked against at every step we take. Thank you.
Citizen comments. Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item 12, tax refunds. We have a few. I make a motion that we refund the following taxpayers. CCAP Auto Lease LTD for $617.47, $394.32, and $360.37. Adam Dowd, $176.21. Jane Ellison, $42.16. Mary Frazier, $32.08. Jason Jazerski, $150.12. Mark Kulaga, $14.36. Parmi Leo, $8.66. Gary Lindell, $42.29. David Ostowski, $70.80. Raquel Rybacki, $40.83. Darren Schmilk, $39.53. Christian Wagner, $63.75. Louis E. Worley II, $16.01. Volkswagen Credit Leasing LTD, $44.34. David A. Reynolds, $10.68, and Roy G. Lebo, $87.57, for a total of $2,211.55. Make that motion. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these tax refunds? All in favor of the approving the tax refunds as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Make a motion, we adjourn at 8:18 PM.
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.